On my screen, we have three New York Times bestselling authors. And all three of these, what do all three of these have in common? They're all dyslexic. Here on the left, you have Sir Richard Branson, who's a billionaire, who's been able to build a business empire with dyslexia. And in the middle, we have Lewis Howes. He is the host of the successful podcast listened to by millions of people, the School of Greatness. And on the right, you have Dean Graziosi, and he's done over $1 billion in sales. And what do they all have in common? They're all three dyslexic. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about how these three dyslexics became New York Times bestselling authors. This is something that a lot of people, they desire to become bestselling authors. They desire to build a business, but they feel that there's disabilities. There's different, there's disadvantages that life has given us. And what I've done is I've researched these individuals and I've looked at the process behind how to launch to best-selling authors. And here are some lessons that I've learned. And I'm going to be pulling back the curtain, some of the discoveries I've found from some of their interviews. And but first, let's talk about dyslexia. What is dyslexia? Dyslexia is known as a learning disorder that makes reading and writing very hard. What happens is people with dyslexia, they tend to flip letters and sounds around. Sometimes when they're looking at words, it's like the letters are backwards and sounds are out of place. Most people consider dyslexia to be a reading disability. And if you think about the nature of this dyslexia, it would seem that this reading disability would be one of the least likely individuals to publish a book, let alone a New York Times best-selling book, right? But it couldn't be further from the truth. So let's look at a clip from Dean and see what has been his experience with dyslexia.
I can remember being in 7th grade with Mrs. Thompson, who was my special ed teacher, because I had dyslexia really bad. And I remember going to her classroom. Remember the special ed room? Listen, most of you walked by the special ed. I was the kid in it. I was the kid in there. And Mrs. Thompson always used to yell at me, just sound it out. Are you dumb? Are you stupid? Just sound it out.
So in this clip, I really resonate with him because a lot of people don't know I was in special ed class too, and I remember being pulled out of the normal kids class and being put in special ed, and people would walk by it, and there I am taking that IEP, and it was challenging. But when you see, like, one of the things that Dean said in the video was, I had dyslexia really bad. Most of you walked by the special ed room. I was the kid in it. So I remember listening to an event where Dean Graziosi was speaking over there, and he was sharing how a lot of times we have these challenges, these unfavorable circumstances, or maybe these character traits that make it seem like we're not likely to be able to thrive or succeed. And he shared how that I have dyslexia, but that didn't stop me from publishing multiple books. He published over, I believe it was over like 12 different books, and many of them got to New York Times best-selling author. From Millionaire Success Habits to The Underdog Advantage, he's changed the lives of millions of people and hundreds of thousands of readers who have read his book and done over $1 billion in sales. That's billion with a B. And what he's sharing is that I had dyslexia, but I figured it out. And I worked with people. I learned to speak the book and work with editors to help edit the book out and bring it to fruition. It was my words, but he learned that because he does things backwards, and because he flips the words and reading is really hard, he's learned how to watch videos to learn. He's learned how to listen to podcasts and audio and go through audiobooks where he doesn't have to read as much, and he'll work with people. Like anything that we lack in resources, we can always make up and leverage by learning how to leverage other people's skills, other people's abilities, other people's knowledge and expertise. And this is one of the ways that Dean was able to publish multiple best-selling author books. And let's look at a clip of Sir Richard Branson. He was being interviewed, and he reveals something that a lot of people may or may not know about.
I didn't know I was dyslexic when I was at school. I just thought I was maybe stupid. And, I'd look at an IQ test and, have a complete blank. I just couldn't fill in anything. The same way that if I look at a Times crossword, I'll have the same problem today. I'd look at the blackboard and, go blank, and slowly, I was put to the very back of the class and sort of forgotten it.
So what he said was, I didn't know that I was dyslexic when I was at school. I just thought I was maybe stupid. And this was his experience that he had, but that was, that's the case that a lot of times people who have dyslexia, the schools don't know how to handle them. Now there's more understanding about it, but when they were going to school, they were treated very differently. And here, a lot of people will look at this quote unquote disability and say like, well, that's the reason why they can't. But here he went on and he published multiple books and became New York Times bestselling author, and he's able to really build a business empire on a variety of different fields, from telecommunications to airlines to business leadership, all sorts of different areas. He's able to become a published author. He didn't allow his dyslexia to hold him back. See, a lot of people, they look at their quote-unquote disadvantage and they say, well, I can't do it because I'm dyslexic. Well, Sir Richard Branson looked at this. He says, well, I'm going to do it, I will do it, and I'm dyslexia, but that just means, it doesn't mean that I can't, it means that I will. I'm just going to work harder at it, and he does. So it's really inspiring to see people who have unfavorable circumstances and they're able to push through. And we think that people who succeed, they just have they're born with a silver spoon, and they're built different. They're totally unlike anything like us. But I want to show you these examples of people who they all have disadvantages. They all have challenges that many people listening, you probably don't even have. Maybe if you do have dyslexia, then hopefully it'll inspire you to realize that there are opportunities that we can pursue if we allow us to. Here's another example. Lewis Howes, the founder of the School of Greatness, and he was interviewed on a podcast with Gary Vee. I was listening to this, and there was just this small clip that happened so quick. I was like, wait, let's go back. What did he just say? And I realized that he was dyslexic. I had no idea. I've been listening to his podcast for so many years, and he's got all these great health educators, people, world-renowned leading experts on sugars, on inflammation and weight loss and all sorts of different things. And his podcast has been very, very packed full of good interviews. And Gary Vee asked him a question during his book launch. And this is one of the things we teach our students: when you're publishing a book, get featured on other people's platforms so that you can share your book. And media loves authors. So check out this conversation, this little back and forth from Gary Vee that was so insightful, and we're going to unpack this a little bit afterwards.
To be inspired.
Did you write this? Did you do it the way I do, where you have a ghostwriter and you audio it?
A couple people that helped me, but
Yep.
a lot of interviewing back and forth, a lot of editing back and forth.
Yep. Can you write?
A little bit.
Yeah,
as a dyslexic guy, it's kind of challenging. But,
Yeah,
it's a hard work for me.
I can't write. Right,
Right,
Indian
exactly.
Steve?
That's why, one of the principles.
Have you ever gotten an email from me? Woo.
One of the principles is building a championship team.
Yep.
And I know that in order to put out a great product, I need
Yep.
to have a great team around me of writers, editors, publisher to support the process, because I couldn't do it on my own.
Very cool, man.
no way.
Good for you.
Did you guys catch that? So Gary Vee asked him a question. He said, did you write this book, or did you do it the way I do it, where you have a ghostwriter and you audio it? You see that? So Gary Vee, also a New York Times bestselling author, he doesn't write his own books. He audios it. He speaks his book. He communicates it with his verbally, and then works with editors or people to be able to take those words and transcribe them and be able to package them, format them into a best-selling book. And his response, Lewis Howes, was like, well, as a dyslexic guy, writing is kind of challenging. It's a hard work for me. And then he reveals his process. He goes behind the scene. He talks about how he does that. But one of the and he basically revealed in this conversation, it shows the secret of many best-selling authors. And I find that one of the reasons that people struggle to publish their book is because they're trying to write their book. And one of the secrets to being able to publishing books fast, to getting things done quickly, is one, to leverage a team of strategists who that's what they do, and they work with book publishers and people who want aspiring authors or existing authors to be able to launch, to give you the strategy, to be able to help you to get it from your mind to a manuscript in the shortest time possible, and from your manuscript to their mailbox. And what we see is that Lewis Howes was able to go on to be a New York Times bestselling author with his book that is very much on a similar theme of his podcast and his interviews. So this interview was really inspiring to me, because when I saw this, it really clicked in my mind. I remembered Dean's experience, that I heard him talk about his publishing journey as having dyslexia, where he's flipping words and going things backwards. And I remember Sir Richard Branson had dyslexia, and I was just like bringing things together. I started noticing a pattern of highly successful authors that they think differently. And it's not what I mean by dyslexia. They think differently in that they don't allow their disadvantages to hold them back. And it really, it resonates with me, because when I was growing up, when I was in school, I had a learning disability, and I was put in special education class. Here I am. When I was 12 in grade school, it was very difficult for me. And they used to bus me on the short bus to go clear across the city to go to a specialized class of where this school would be able to handle specific people like me. I was I was a lot further developmentally stunted and behind the rest of my peers, and it made learning very difficult. I was very slow at reading. Still, I don't really enjoy reading, but it was hard to learn. It was hard to remember things, and school was rough, to be honest. And but then, like, I didn't allow those challenges to hold me back. I started studying about digital marketing. I was very interested in this, and then it's led me to be able to share the stage with Russell Brunson, with Myron Golden, with Dan Henry, and other marketing legends of our time. And it was really recognizing that through this experience, I thought for a long time, I still desired to publish a book, but I didn't really know how to do it. And I started to invest in myself, invest in mentorship, invest in really my time and attention to learn what are the secrets behind highly successful authors, and what are they doing to launch their book to #1 bestseller and beyond. And I started to recognize some of the patterns and starting developing our process. And what I was able to do is be able to publish I became a best-selling author in my first book that went on to bless the lives of many other people, who we started getting reviews, and people who are excited about getting their hands on it. We launched a #1 best-selling in business consulting, and then didn't just do it once, but we were able to do it a second time with the book on high-ticket health coaching, where I'm helping health educators to learn how to make big money with a small audience online by publishing a best-selling book. And by going through that process, one thing that I learned is that there's no such thing as disabilities, only different abilities. There's no such thing as disadvantages, only different advantages. I was talking to someone on my team who also has dyslexia, and when I first met her, she's watched my videos on YouTube for many years, and she's been blessed by the videos that I produce. And then we were talking together, and I just told a bit about my story, how I had a learning disability. I was in special ed class. She's like, "What, you were in special ed class?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I was." And it gave her so much encouragement. And then she began to tell me how she had dyslexia, and because of that, it created challenges for her. And fast forward a few years, she's now our project manager, and she's able to help keep track of our team and be able to take big projects and work backwards. And we were talking together. She's like, I don't really like brainstorming, because it's kind of hard to think of all the different stuff to do. And I'm like, well, you're a master at doing this. When someone is going to be coming over, you work backwards, and you see everything that needs to take place in order to make that happen. And she's like, she's like, oh, well, working backwards is like reverse engineering that goal. Like, that's easy for me to do. As dyslexic, I always going backwards is easy on me. It does it naturally. And I'm like, see, that's your area of genius. That is like what society and especially school doesn't realize is that people with dyslexia, they have a Ferrari brain. And other people don't have that, so it's operating at a different level. And when she was showing that, I was like, wow, no wonder you're so good at managing these projects and you're able to help keep our whole team of 7 people on task and productive and successful throughout our week to getting stuff done, is because of your quote unquote disability is actually a different ability. And she's so good at that, even more so than anyone else on her team. That's why she's our project manager. And what I realized too, even me, like, it's because I struggled so much in learning. It's because I struggled so much in connecting with people and building relationships with others and having friends. And it wasn't clicking. It wasn't making sense. So they held me back in special ed and they gave me an IEP, an individual educational program. And it's because of my disabilities that I began to become fascinated with how to make friends, how to influence people, how to network with others, how to build relationships that last and develop my leadership skills to be able to have a team. And I believe that if it wasn't for that great that struggle that I had, then it wouldn't have given me the strength to become the person that I am today, to be able to build a family business that's generated over $500,000 in profit with our health education business. And so what I realized, again, there's no such thing as disabilities, only different abilities. The reason why you think you can't is a very reason why you can. And it's just by learning to see an advantage in every situation. And it's by learning to focus on the solutions. Because some people, they see problems for every solutions. Whereas successful entrepreneurs, they see solutions to every problems. And that shift was really a big difference. So let's break down a little bit. One thing that Lewis Howes said, he said, one of the principles I teach in my book is to build a championship team. And in that championship team, he goes on to talk about how he had a list of writers and editors, and he worked with a publishing coach that's able to walk him through the process. He worked with people, he did interviews where he's able to interview and get his thoughts out and publish that book. And so he gives kind of like a behind the scenes, behind the curtains view of how he became the successful author and has impacted millions of people with his book. And that's exactly what I went on to do. I started to interview successful authors. And there's one, Drew Manning, who's known as the Keto Guy, where he's helped thousands of people to be able to lose weight and to create the bodies of their dreams. And he wrote the book From Fit to Fat to Fit, and also became a New York Times bestselling author. And he sold millions of copies of his book. And I asked him, when I had the opportunity to interview him on my YouTube channel, I asked him, hey, what would you say was a single best decision that you made in your business, your health business journey as an author? And he said, like, honestly, it was when I invested in a team of marketers who could help me to take my message where it was to the next level. He didn't say he was working with a publisher. He didn't say that it was like the traditional publishers that really helped him. He said it was actually surprising when he got the book deal. He thought they would help with more of the marketing, but really it was like, you're on your own, sport. It's like, you got to go figure out how to market this. So he's like, well, I'm like a health educator. I see myself as a health messenger, not so much a health marketer. So the marketing was new to him. And he said that when he invested in a marketing team, that's when things really started coming together. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. That's why, like, with my team, we eat, we breathe, we sleep, marketing, health marketing. We help health educators to be able to get their message to the masses. And one of the things that we do is that I help health-focused entrepreneurs to write, to publish, and launch their first or next book to bestseller within 60 days. We believe it doesn't have to take months or years for you to publish your best-selling book, but you can get it done in days and weeks and through our book publishing process. And as I've been able to interview these highly successful authors, I began to realize, building a championship team and partnering with a team of people like us is one of the best things that people can do to be able to get their message out to the masses. The second secret that we could extract from that dialogue with Lewis Howes and Gary Vee was he said there was a lot of back and forth interviews. Now, what I realize is one of the ways that we can help people publish books quickly, they're like, wait a second, I'm like, writing is hard, dyslexia flips words, and reading is difficult. And many of you too, you might find that that when it comes to writing your book, it seems daunting. Or some of you listening, you've had a book that you've had in your mind, or you've been working on a manuscript for much longer than you'd like, or maybe even multiple manuscripts, or the thought of it just seems like that's going to take a lot of time. That's how it was for me too. It wasn't until I learned this secret that made all the difference. And it's don't write your book, it's speak your book. When you speak your book, when you're able to verbalize it and express it out loud, that allows you to be able to put your book together in a way that it can be done fast. It can be done in hours rather than months and years. Now, if you are a writer and you just love writing, then you surely can write your book. It's going to take longer, but another thing that you can consider is, hey, speak your book first and then get all of your writing passion and enjoyments and editing and modifying and tweaking it away, and then you can still do that. But that way you're able to get your rough draft done fast. And that's exactly what I did with Shanicia Bavigans. She's an international speaker. She's a speaker consultant for health educators. She helps them to book profitable health talks and get on stages leveraging other people's audiences. We've worked with her to help some of our students to get booked and paid to speak, where what she did is she invested in our program and for our book publishing program, and I interviewed her book content. So in one afternoon, she was able to get her book and rough draft all the way finished. And then we worked with her to show her how to create a waiting list of hungry book buyers, so that when she was ready to publish her book, she already had back orders of people who were interested, eager, and ready to get a copy of her guide to profitable health talks. And this shows you the power of interviewing. What I did is I went through a series of questions with her, and so that she doesn't have to be writing and thinking. It's like when you're in your head about what you're going to say, it's a lot more challenging. So we outlined what the book's going to be about, and I asked her some questions about her process, and we have very strategically designed questions to extract the best insights and the best knowledge from you, optimizing your book for sales and impact as well as income. And through one afternoon, just a few hours, we were able to go back and forth, and her entire book manuscript was all together. And then it was just a matter of doing some cleaning up and some editing, and then she was ready to publish her book, which is now available on Amazon. So that is, which leads us to the third secret that Lewis Howes talked about, is to really like follow a proven book publishing system, because there's three types of work that you can have. You can have guesswork, you can have hard work, or you could follow a framework. And when you have a framework or a system that's a step-by-step system to get repeatable results, for being able to get your knowledge from your mind to the manuscript, when you follow a system to be able to get your book published, when you follow a system for launching your book to #1 bestseller, to get repeatable, consistent best-selling status that you're able to use to leverage, and you have a system for getting on other stages, to bringing business back to you. Systems are amazing, because did you know system is an acronym? In my book on high-ticket health coaching, I talk about this automation effect, and I talk about system. What system stands for is saving yourself time, energy, money, and stress. And when you learn to follow a system, it saves energy. Like, you can spend the energy, the money, the stress, and exhaust yourself in trying to guess of what to do in publishing. And that's what I see. A lot of authors come to me, and or aspiring authors, and they are exhausted, and they're like, oh, I've got this book for so long, or I've got so many titles and ideas, book ideas, I don't know which one to choose. And it's because they don't have a system. They're trying to do it on their own. A lot of times authors come to me and they talk about how what they say is that I ask them, so tell me about your business beyond your book. So you got a book, or you're going to have a book. So what about your back-end business? What does that look? And they look at me like a deer in the headlights, and they're like, I don't have a back-end business. I just have a book. It's like, oh, Well, what's powerful is a book is incredible, but the book, when implemented correctly, can be one of the best foundations for having a business that brings business back to you, whether you sell supplements, whether you sell coaching or speaking engagements or online courses, or you do in-person workshops or online workshops. Whatever education that you sell, a book is one of the most powerful tools to bring business back to you. But a lot of people don't realize, a lot of authors or aspiring authors don't know how to build a business beyond their book. And that's something that Tanya Jackson came to us. She attended one of our events, and she's a business owner, international speaker. She focuses on women's health and hormones. And she said one thing that's very different from your program is that your boot camp is optimized for sales and building a business. And I love that. So she went through our program and she was able to finish her book within about 3 weeks from joining our program. She was able to get her book down and into a manuscript and ready to go. And it's exciting to be able to see people who are impacting other people's health and helping women to regulate their hormones. And why was she able to do that? Because she followed a system. Now, how many of you would like to follow a proven system for writing and publishing your book? Comment system down below if that's you. And what I realized is in authorship, the New York Times did a survey and they found that there's about 81% of Americans have a dream to publish a best-selling book. They recognize that they have a book in them and they feel that they should write it. But there's another study done by the Book Industry Study Group found that out of those 81% who want to publish a book, only 2% have actually published a book. And that means that there is 79% of Americans will go to their graves with unfulfilled dreams of becoming a best-selling author. And my question is, do you want to be a part of the 79% who feel that they have a book in them, but they've never published in their lifetime? Or are you ready today to get the guidance that you've been looking for to write, to publish, and launch your bestseller, your book to bestseller in the next 60 days? And if so, then if you're ready to get the guidance you've been looking for, type yes in the chat below. And when you really think about 2% of Americans become authors, that's wild. That means like the people that we get to work with are now becoming, they go from being overlooked to overbooked because now they're in the top 2% of people. Talk about ability to differentiate yourself from the crowd and to be able to stand out in a crowded market and be able to add value in ways that other non-authors aren't able to do. It's amazing. And if you're ready to publish a best-selling book, then text the number on the screen, 424-243-6624. Text the number Bestselling, and I'll be happy to give you access to a free masterclass where I go into this Best-Selling Author Secrets Masterclass. It's going to show you 90 minutes, everything that you need to know to write and publish a best-selling book. Or you can go to the website freegiftfromenoch.com. It's right there at the bottom, /bestselling. freegiftfromenoch.com /bestselling. And I'd be happy to send you that. When you go to that website, what you're going to find is you're going to see this page. And here it talks about how to leverage a shorts health book to make big money with a small audience online. This masterclass is going to go into some details that are going to help you to get clear on your book, get clear on your vision, get clear on what are the steps to help you to understand your next steps for taking your business to the next level with publishing a book. And if any of these stories have inspired you, from the billionaires, New York Times bestselling authors, from maybe you could resonate with a little bit of my experience or some of our students, then, and you feel that like you have a book in you and you really want to get it out, then go to the website or text Bestselling to 424-243-6624, and I'd be happy to connect with you. And follow me on social media where I release new videos like this. If you like the video, subscribe, and so that you can get notified when I release new videos designed to help you in your health book authoring journey and building your business and marketing. And I look forward to seeing you soon. And remember, God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. Have a great day, and God bless.